Okay, so this is a quick video tutorial on how to create a metal folded lamp, and this presumes that you have already installed the post processors for the plasma cutter, as well as set up the plasma cutting tool per the lab write-up. You also should have downloaded four cuttable SVGs from the Noun project that are indicative of your theme, and this is going to show you how to get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into our document settings and change our units over to inches. And then we are going to click here on unsaved and create a new component, and we're going to call this component lamp. Okay, at this point I'm going to go ahead and save and call this sample lamp. And so now we're going to come over here to the sheet metal tool. We're going to create a sketch, and we're going to do that on the top face here. And I'm going to make a center point rectangle that's going to drag out to the center, and I'm going to set it to 3 inches by 3 inches. Okay, so at this point then I can finish the sketch. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a flange on this surface. And you'll notice it's going to pull up some rules here. We're going to talk about these in just a little bit, but we'll leave this as is for now. And we can click OK. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create another flange, and we're going to do it on these top 4 edges here. And we're going to drag these up an additional 3 inches. Okay. So here we can kind of see the sides of the lamp kind of coming up. Now at this point we are going to modify our sheet metal rules. We're going to click on our steel millimeters here, and we're going to edit this rule, and we're going to change the thickness to the actual thickness of our metal, which is 1.6 millimeters. So we'll click save, and you can see how it thins that metal out, and it's also kind of leaving these openings as well. If we come into these, we can see some additional kind of elements that we can change. For now, we're going to leave these as they are. So we can click close. At this point then, we want to kind of visualize what this is going to look like when it's perfectly flat. And so we can create a flat pattern, and we can click on this stationary face here, and it's going to unfold everything relative to that face. And so now we can see that it's flattened everything down. And what we'll do now is we're going to right click on here, and we're going to create a sketch. And we can see that sketch right here. And we're going to start making some modifications to our design here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create some lines just to kind of keep track of where we are. And I'm going to come out to the middle of each edge, and I want to look for this kind of center edge here. That should pop up. I see it almost there. Yeah, right there. And we are going to come in 90 degrees, and you'll see how it's wanting to work in millimeters, so looks like we need to go through and change our units one more time over to inches. Okay, so let's try that again. So we're going to come into the center line here, and we're going to come in at a 90-degree angle, and we're going to come down half an inch, and we're going to do that on all the sides here. So it really wants to kind of snap in right there. Okay, so again, coming in a half inch from each side. Okay, and one more. Okay. Now at this point then, we're going to make a circle, and we're going to take that off of the construction, and we're going to come in and put a circle at each of those points, and we're going to make those circles 0.25 inches in diameter. And these are going to be for the rivets that are going to hold our little shadow plates in place. Okay. And then last, we'll come up to this top edge, and we're going to do another construction line. and we're going to bring it down about 2.7 inches. And we're going to create a center point rectangle. We'll turn off the construction line. And here we're going to create a rectangle that is 0.5 inches by 0.3 inches. And this is going to be just big enough for our USB cable to pass through the center of. Okay, so at this point we're making good progress. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in our 4 panels that will go on the top. That's going to have our designs cut into it. And so to do that, we'll create some rectangles here. And I'm going to make those 2.8 by 2.8 inches. And so I'll do a rectangle there. A rectangle there. A rectangle there. And one final rectangle there. Okay, so we're going to have 4 plates in total. What we can do now is we can actually go insert the SVGs that we downloaded from the Noun project. And so we'll insert those from the computer. And the first one I've got is a rock. And so I'm going to kind of drag that over here. And I'm going to size that up as big as I can. So that'll make it easier for the plasma cutter to cut it. And so here's my rock, nice and centered. Okay, and I can click OK to insert it. And then I can come through and I can delete these extraneous items. So we'll come over here and we'll insert our next SVG. And it's going to be water. It looks like this one's going to have to get stretched an awful lot. That's okay. There we go. Click OK. And delete the extraneous text. Okay. We'll do it again. Okay. And we'll come down and we'll delete the text. And we've got one more. We'll insert our SVG. A little too big. Let's kind of do it right about there. Good. And we'll take care of that. Good, so now I've got my folded lamp. I've got my USB opening, I've got opening for rivets, and I've got my 4 panels that are all ready to go. So I can click Finish Sketch now, and I'm going to go ahead and save this. Okay. Now at this point then, I can go over to Manufacture. Okay. And we're going to change a couple of things here. So first, we're going to go over to our Setup and create a new setup. And we're going to change the operation type over to cutting, and that's going to be important because we want to be able to actually use the cutting tool. Okay, and so if we open up our models and then go to lamp flat pattern, now we can click on new setup again, and we can see that it's set up for cutting. For our model orientation, our stock box point, we want to select this bottom left hand point right here to move the X, Y, and Z over to that side. We'll go over to stock, and we're going to click no additional stock. And so we can see that our overall dimensions are just under 9 inches in each direction with a little bit of thickness. So we can click OK. Okay. Now at this point then, we're going to go over to cutting and do a 2D profile. For the tool, we need to select the plasma cutter tool that you should have set up previously. Okay, we're going to change the cutting feed rate to 150 inches per minute. For the geometry, we're going to go and select all of the contours of our cuts. And so I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to select on all of the bits that need to get cut out. And we'll talk about kind of what side you should cut on in just a moment, but just go ahead and select all the different edges that are going to need to get cut. Make sure you don't forget any. Good. We're going to skip over heights. We don't need to do that one. For the passes, we're going to do in computer control. For linking, we're going to click keep nozzle down and change the maximum stay down distance to 24 inches. And we'll change the stay feed down rate to 300 inches per minute. We don't need any lead out, but we do need lead in. And we're going to leave this lead in radius to 0, but we're going to change this to 90 degrees and the lead in distance to 0.15. We're going to try that. We may need to adjust that a little bit later on. If you want to choose where the plasma cutter starts cutting in, you can choose entry positions, but I'm going to let it do that automatically for now and see how it does. So I'm going to click OK. It's going to go through and try to calculate all the paths. Okay. And we don't see any errors, but we need to go check to see kind of where it's cutting in on things. So here, on the inside of this rock, you can see how it's going to start cutting in. This is called the lead-in. It's where it starts cutting in and piercing in the material, and then it cuts everything out. This is good to have the lead-in here, because this piece is going to get thrown away. On this side, however, this is bad, because this is going to cut into my overall plate, and so I'm going to need to change this one. So let's kind of see other places where that may be messing up. You can see here that that's having problems. Here's a problem. Okay, looks like here's a lead-in issue. There's a lead-in issue. Okay, there's a lead-in issue. So we're going to kind of go back and examine to make sure that we kind of fix these small little issues. So we're going to start with this panel. So we need to look at this rock and then this square. So if I right-click here and click Edit, and if I go back to my geometry, you can see how this arrow is on the inside. We actually want that to be on the outside. That's going to be the side that it kind of biases toward. So same thing with this one. And so now, if I click OK, we should see that now those lead-in issues have been resolved. So let's kind of keep looking around. So I see that there's an issue here and here. So let's go ahead and we'll click Edit again and go over to Geometry. Okay, so we want that to cut from the inside, and we want that to cut from the outside, which is good. Okay, this one needs to be cut on the outside, and that needs to be cut on the inside. So let's see if that solved all of our lead-in issues. Okay, so now all these are being cut. That's good. This one looks good. Yeah, so I think we've solved most of the issues here. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so at this point it looks like it's actually cutting correctly. And so we're going to save one more time. And now we're ready to do our post-processing. So if we come over here, we can look at the Simulate tool, and we can actually hit play on this and watch it cut all of our pieces out just to make sure that it's cutting in the way that we kind of expect it to cut. And again, you're looking at those lead-ins to make sure it's not cutting into any pieces that you want to keep at the end. And so we can speed this up, make sure it looks okay. Okay. And that looks good. So we can go ahead and close that. We'll go to the post-processor. And at this point, we're going to open up our properties. And we're going to check a couple of things. We want to check that we're using the Fire Control Plasma post-processor. We want to make sure that IHS is either unclicked or set to no or false, and same as THC. That should be unclicked and set to no or false. We want to make sure that our pierce delay is set to 1 second. This is how long it is going to burn into the material before it starts cutting. But if that looks okay, then we can click OK. I'm going to save this to my desktop as my airbender lamp.nc. You can call yours whatever you want as long as it ends with .nc, and that should be good. So we will click Save. And I'm going to send this out over to the plasma cutter on the file server and get ready to cut. And that's it.